Hey everyone, this is Eli M. from fmxexpress.com and Peacekeeper Enterprise. I'm here to demo the Hospitality Survey app template for you today. You can install the Hospitality Survey app template from Embarcadero's GetIt. So I'm going to open up GetIt here, and I'm going to go to the industry templates, and here is the Hospitality Survey app template. You can download it. I've already installed it, so I don't need to install it again. The survey app template has a list of dynamically generated form questions on a mobile device which the waitstaff of a restaurant could give to diners after a meal. The diners can complete the survey and the survey results get aggregated on a central server. The restaurant management can view the results of the survey in a web browser. RAD Server has support for multiple tenants, and in the context of this template, it means 2 different restaurants. So now I'm going to open up the template client. So you can see here that GetIt installs it in the industry templates directory here, and I'm going to open up the client project. The Hospitality Survey app is an end-to-end solution which uses Delphi for the cross-platform data collection client on Android, iOS, macOS, and Windows. So over here is the target platform, and you can see the different platforms that it supports. It uses RAD Server for the REST API server endpoints, and it uses Interbase for the database backend. So here's the RAD Server project directory. And finally, it uses AngularJS in the web browser for the admin dashboard. So this is the admin dashboard directory built using Angular. And additionally, there is a version of the admin dashboard built with Sencha. So the Sencha project directory is over here. Lastly, there is a hospitality survey editor for editing the survey questions on your live server available on fmxexpress.com. So I have that here in this directory here. There's the survey editor. Also included is almost 20 pages of documentation, a quick start guide, and a README in each of the different projects. So there's the README file. Let's jump right in, and I will demo the Hospitality Survey Setup app. The Setup app will generate everything you need to get it up and running with this template in your own environment. You will, however, need to set up a second tenant first using the EMS multi-tenant console utility. You will also need RAD Server running. I'm going to open the Embarcadero program files bin directory and launch these 2 apps. So I've got my Ultra Explorer, which is built in Delphi, and I'm going to go to the EMS multi-tenant console app. I'm going to run that. I'm going to do add. And then I'm going to give it the tenant a name, tenant2. I'm going to give it a secret, and the secret is going to be secret. And then I'm going to save changes. So that's set up. And then I'm going to run RAD Server here. So I'm going to move that over here. And then I'm going to continue by opening the Survey Setup app. On the first step, we're going to run this. You should configure the location of your survey data database and the location of your RAD server database. Both of these databases are interbase. The survey data database will be created by the setup app. So I'm going to click set here, and I'm going to set the database to hospitalitysurvey.ib. Then I'm going to click set here on the RAD server database and set it to the emsserver.ib file. And that's the EMS database of RAD server. On the second step, so we're going to go to step 2 here, you should configure both tenant IDs and tenant secrets to match your system. Clicking Setup Users should connect to your RAD server instance and create all of the needed user groups and users for the template. The password for each user is set to password by default. The RAD server development version supports 5 users, so 3 users are created on the first tenant and 2 on the second. So I'm going to click Setup Users here, and I'm going to show you RAD server. And so we ran into, there was too many users. I probably had an extra user in there that gets created by default. It only supports 5, and there was probably trying to create 6. So we're going to click through that. It's not a big deal. And you can see that it connected to RAD server using the API and set up all those users. On the third step, you will see 12 questions. So here's the 12 questions in the string grid. The first 8 questions are general and will be seen by both tenants. Question 9 and 10 will be seen by the first tenant only, and question 11 and 12 will be seen by the second tenant only. So you can see the tenant ID over here, and that's how you can see which tenant is going to see which question. The string grid and the edit fields are live binded to a TFD mem table. You can customize the questions as you see fit here. Once you are ready, you can click the regenerate button to generate the SQL statements for setting up the survey tables in the survey database. So I'm just going to click through some of the rows here and you can see the different questions and the different options that they have. So then I'm going to click regenerate. So that's been completed. On the fourth step, you will see all of the generated SQL statements. Once you are ready, you can press Initialize All to execute the SQL statements. So you can see here that it creates a survey table, creates the questions table. Here's all the questions from the previous step, and then it creates a results table. So I'm going to click Initialize All now and set up my tables. Lastly, on the complete step, you will see the groups, users, passwords that were set up. You should now be ready to test out the mobile client and the admin dashboard. And so if I scroll down here, you can see all of the users and passwords that were created. Now I am going to open the RAD server side of the Hospitality Survey app template, which contains the REST API endpoints. I'm going to open up the project here and then open the survey module and the tenant module. So let's do open sample project, industry templates, object Pascal, and the EMS directory here, and open this project. And then open the survey module and the tenant module. The survey module contains the endpoints for downloading the questions, submitting data from the client, and for viewing survey results in the admin dashboard. The tenant module contains the endpoint for returning the list of active tenants. That's this module here. So here is the PDF file, and you can see it contains the list of endpoints for the RAD server. The SQL queries within the RAD server module here are designed for interbase, but you could easily use any backend database as there are only a few SQL syntax differences. So we're going to go into survey module now and go to the code. Get up here at the top, and you can see here is the resource name. So survey is the main part of the endpoint, and then we have some functions here. We have a get data function, a post data function, and just a normal get function. So if we scroll down here, the normal get function, which responds to the survey endpoint, returns the list of questions to the client. Scrolling down, I'm going to scroll all the way down to where it breaks out the other endpoints. Alright, so if we go down to get data, this is for the web admin dashboard. So you can see that this example endpoint right here, it gets results here, passes that off to the get results function. Here we've got the stats, and passes to the get stats function. We have the details, gets passed to get details, and emails gets passed to get emails. Alright, so now scrolling back up, so that was for the admin stats. Scrolling back up to the post data section. Post data is for when the client submits a survey to the central server, RAD server. So we scroll down, we can see that the client submits the data here. It gets loaded from the stream that the client sent it into a TFD mem table. Creates a GUID for the survey and submits it into the database. Okay, so now I can scroll through these other ones quickly. Get results, obviously, it gets the survey results and returns it. So here's an example of where the interbase SQL syntax is used in the rows. Scrolling down, here's the stats. So the stats just does some various SQL queries to pull out different information and return those different pieces of information to the client. So those are all the SQL queries that do that. And it gets all combined here at the end into the stats table, which gets outputted as a FD mem table JSON result. Get details pulls out the result details and sends it to the admin dashboard. And finally, get emails gets a list of all the surveys that were submitted and grabs their email addresses and outputs those as a file for the admin dashboard to download. So that's, and then if we quickly switch over here to the tenants module, you'll see that the tenants module is pretty simple. All it does is return a list from, it returns on the tenants endpoint, it returns the list of active tenants via an FDMEM table JSON string. Now I am going to go over the mobile client side of the Hospitality Survey app template. The client is built to run on Android, iOS, macOS, and Windows. Single code base, single UI. The interface is entirely responsive, so you don't have to worry about different screen sizes. The survey form is dynamically generated from questions that it downloads from the server. I'm going to launch the RAD Server project first so that the client will have something to connect to. So I'm going to open sample project. I'm going to go into industry templates, object Pascal, into the demo. I'm going to go into the EMS server, open this project, and I'm going to run the server. So now the server is loaded and running, and then I'm going to open the client project. So now we've got the client project opened up here, and I will show you the different tabs in the client. So we have a tab control inside a vertical scroll box, and so we have the login tab, the menu tab, store tab, survey tab, and a thank you tab. So I will click through those. This is the store tab. There's the login tab for logging in as a user. Here is the menu tab for taking the survey. This tab is where the dynamic form gets created. It's empty because it's dynamic. And finally, here's the completed tab. So if we click back to the store tab, we will launch the app. And here it is. Looks like we're already signed in. So I'm going to log out and change store. And all right, so here is the store login. I'm going to refresh that, make sure it's downloaded. I'm going to pick the first tenant, and then I'm going to use the password of secret. I'm going to log in. And then I'm going to use the users and passwords we set up. So I'm going to use manager1, and I'm going to use the password of password, and I'm going to log in. Alright, so here we are. We're logged in as the first tenant, and I'm going to take the survey. And so here you can see the dynamically generated form of the survey. Is this first time? I'm going to click yes. I'm going to rate my experience on this star map. How was the food? I'm going to do these other ratings, and then would I recommend to a friend? Yes, it was delicious, and that's my comment. I'm going to enter my email. My email address is eli@peacekeeper.com. How often do you eat Italian food? I'm going to select multiple times a week. What is your favorite Italian meal? I'm going to select pizza, and then I'm going to click complete, and it uploaded it to the server, and then I can click thank you to take you back to the main menu, or you can do another survey. So I'm going to do another survey here. I'm going to do no. I'm going to rate them all good. Do no here. Provide comment. It was awesome. And I'm going to skip the email field just to see what happens. I'm going to pick some different values here. I'm going to do complete and click thank you. And so that's pretty much the client side and a demo of the client. And so if we go in here to the non-visual controls, you can see we're using an EMS provider, and then we have various back-end endpoints which connect to the EMS provider. There's the back-end users, the back-end authentication. Here is the style book, which handles the look and feel here. We have the FDMEM table form, which will contain the dynamic questions, which you can download from the server. And a startup timer, which launches some of our code when the app is started for various different platforms. And that is the client. And of course, the different platforms over here, all the different platforms that it can deploy to. Okay, I am now going to go over the admin dashboard of the Hospitality Survey app template. The admin dashboard displays various statistics from the survey results, and you can view each individual survey. The dashboard is built in AngularJS, which easily connects to the RAD Server endpoints. AngularJS is JavaScript, and there is not a compilation step between development and deployment. So I'm going to bring this over here and show you that here is the admin directory, and it contains the index file and the JavaScript. Here's the admin JavaScript. So I'm going to open that up, and you can see here is the endpoint that's connected to localhost 8080, and here's the various variables and things that it uses. So this part is very important. So the cores is you need this cross origin set up in order for it to work correctly. So make sure that your cores is set up, and then if you don't want it to use the session token, you can use this side, and if you do want it to use it, you can use this side. What this allows you to do is use the admin side if you're just debugging locally without having it send that, and it will still work. But if you do a deployment to a web server, then you would want to switch and use this one. So the other part I want to show you is if you remember back to the RAD server part that I showed you, there was the various functions like get emails. So these endpoints and these functions here in AngularJS correspond to those endpoints from RAD server. So this endpoint is the survey emails CSV endpoint, and it's the get emails function. And in this case, it downloads the list of emails from the server and outputs them to you as a CSV file. So moving on down here, we have the get details endpoint calls survey get details for this survey ID, and as you can see here, we're actually outputting from RAD server. We're outputting the FD table saved to JSON, and so AngularJS connects and walks through that tree right here and connects down to the row list, and so it outputs that data directly without any conversion or anything like that to the results, and is able to display and use it. So moving on farther down here with the get results function, which connects to the survey results endpoint for different pages. Again, it uses the FD table JSON directly. And we have get stats, which takes all the stats data from the stats endpoint and outputs it to the various variables and templates in AngularJS. Some more functions down here. This is all related to the stats. And then the login function is down here. It connects to the server and user login endpoint, sends over the tenant ID, the secret. And so that is the JavaScript part of it. If we switch over to the index.html, here is the HTML page with, so first it loads Angular, then it loads the Angular Bootstrap section. It has a charting functionality that it uses and an Angular chart shim for that. It loads the admin.js file here. It loads the Bootstrap style sheet. So moving on down here, we can see the AngularJS controller here and the rest of the page. Some template information here. Then we have the store login and the manager login. Those are those templates, and they are shown in high depending what the state of the web app currently is at. Scrolling down here, we've got a tab control, we have the dashboard, and then we have the surveys tab. So all that data just piped into here from the admin JavaScript in AngularJS. This is an example of how Angular puts in the template data. It calls that function and returns the result there as a template. Alright, so that is the HTML file. So now, if we bring over a web browser, we should be able to navigate to it, and we're go to the first tenant. We're going to enter secret as its password. Then we're going to log in as manager1 with its password of password. We're going to click login, and here is the AngularJS dashboard for the managers, and you can see the results of the surveys that I just entered, various stats about the surveys, and this was the charts that you saw, the charting component JS file that was included. It generates all these charts, and then you can click over here. You can refresh the stats, and then you can click over the surveys, and you can see the surveys directly. Here's the list of surveys, which user submitted the survey. You can view the survey by clicking here, and you can see all of the survey results there, and you can see the email address of each survey, and then you can export the emails here with this button. And that is the AngularJS admin dashboard. That's all for now. Feel free to reuse and mash up the hospitality survey app template for your own deployments. Thanks.